Oh, nice.
So,
yes, within our county. So it's a great success story.
That is a success story. Good to hear.
Do you have any questions?
No, just
I don't.
it appears you're doing a great job and keep up the good work.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Not-
Getting a lot more reach out to people.
No. Gus, do you have
Try
any
to
questions?
do a lot of outreach, yes.
Do you have any questions of Amanda, Gus?
I do not.
I guess maybe I'll just rely on you raising your hand at certain times when I have questions, okay?
That should work.
Rather than calling on you each time. Okay,
And Chair, one thing there, we did still have a mic issue when you called for public comment online again, so we might want to do that one more time. They
Okay.
can hear now.
okay. I had some IT problems on public, so we're gonna call for public comment again. And is there anybody on Zoom who would like to make a public comment to the BOC? Please raise your hand. Now, do we know if they're hearing us now?
We have verification.
Okay, we don't see anybody, so that's taken care of. Okay, next up is our planning department monthly report. Tamara's here for that.
Good morning, Tamara Mabbott, Planning Director. I'll just summarize some of the items in the June monthly update, so looking back mostly at the month of May. We have another hearing scheduled for June 30th, the fifth Tuesday of the month. Hopefully that will be the final Planning Commission action on implementing the Tower Road Interchange Area Management Plan. The Planning Commission continued that. We didn't have objection to the plan, but the implementing ordinance, which turned out to be a good thing. We had issues raised by a couple of the stakeholders in that area. And we've had multiple meetings and multiple iterations of that adopting ordinance. ODOT is very involved in that, as is the county, because it's a very busy intersection and a lot is happening around there. So my preference is to get that moving through the process as soon as possible. So hopefully it will come to the board in August. As you know, the board adopted the county's co-adoption of the Boardman Transportation System Plan to apply for development inside their urban growth area. That was appealed to the Land Use Board of Appeals. We got the entire 1,200-page record in with one error. We were fully prepared to have a lot more objections than that. So hats off to Michaela and Clint, who did the heavy lifting on that. And there was one email that we forgot. So that's now hopefully settled. But those appeals take a lot of staff time. So that's why I'm sharing it with you.
Before you move on
Yes,
from that. And maybe you wanted legal to answer this. Can you give us just a thumbnail idea of where it goes from here, the schedule? Okay.
Oh, you're happy to do that. So the board's decision to approve that was filed timely to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Once the parties, county, we have Dan Kearns defending us. The city is going to intervene because it's their TSP that we co-adopted. And then the appellant is a firm representing Jonathan Tolman. Then his attorney has to write a legal brief and address all 1,200 pages that are in the record. And then the other lawyers have a chance to respond to that. And then they schedule oral arguments, which is a very prescriptive, pretty prescriptive process. So each lawyer, I think, has 15 minutes total. And then the LUBA referees, there are 3 of them, have a chance to answer questions. And then they issue a final decision pretty timely, usually within a couple of weeks after they hear oral arguments. And we don't know the timing on it because I think it's probably going to take the appellant's lawyer some time to sift through all of those pages and make a case. And then there's, I think, a 21 or so day turnaround time. So it'll probably be a couple months before we know the outcome. And then, of course, that decision would come back to the county in one form or another. Could be procedural, could be technical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot faster than it used to be. Sure.
Yeah, sounds like.
Yeah, so we've had several pre-application meetings for a Goal 5 aggregate site, which we have scheduled this month for the Planning Commission and some other applications. We have a really large rezone We've had applications submitted. It's not complete, but that will end up coming to the board after we have that in front of the planning commission. George Kress and I, our principal planner, met with the port, Lisa and Jacob, just to talk about Columbia Development Authority, and that transfer hasn't happened yet, but just to brainstorm ideas and expectations. You know, we're the government, we're here to help. You're also the government, but you know, they don't have any concrete plans yet. We just reviewed some things. We've also been had a couple of meetings with the CDA legal counsel to review legal parcels and a property line adjustment. So we were expecting some more applications in that regard. It's a little complicated because you have to identify what was a legally created discrete parcel. On that matter, the CDA has a very good lawyer who was previously with Deschutes County Council, who knows Oregon land use and partition subdivision law really well. So it's been great to work with him on that. We're still expecting a large solar application. Have another meeting with that team this afternoon. Let's see, I'll move on to transmission lines. We don't have a transmission line, a formal application, but we have that really large 31.8 mile Pacific Core transmission line. Had a phone call with them yesterday. And a message from them also that they will begin the public outreach process, and wanted to share with the board. I'm not sure that it is abundantly clear in my one small paragraph summary, but it has an additional public involvement requirement based on ORS 469-442, I think it is, that says before this project files the application with the local government, they have to provide notice in the local paper 4 times, and they have to allow at least 2 public involvement opportunities 6 months prior to filing their application. So the public might be confused about that or not. It's just, it's not an FSEC public meeting. It's not a county public meeting. It's their public meeting, an informational meeting. And speaking of transmission lines, I wrote a paragraph here, and which is why I was not here last month. I was invited to be part of this Oregon Energy Policy Academy convening. Sounded very fancy. It really wasn't, but it was at Wild Horse for 2 days, and Department of Energy and governor's staff hosted this meeting. I was the token local government planning person. It had the big utilities, had Robert from UEC, had Renewable Northwest, environmental groups, BPA, and everybody was around the room brainstorming, and then breakout groups to talk about the challenges to siting new transmission lines. And I always deliver the message, it's pretty easy for us. You check the box. It's an outright using statute with public notice, of course. So you check these standards. It's a lot easier than a conditional use permit. But the heavy lifting is before the application comes to the local government. So I think it was a fruitful discussion, and I was able to make some contacts with staff from the governor's office, so the climate and energy policy advisor, to see if they might lean in and help us encourage some co-locations of transmission lines in the county. I think there's an opportunity to do some co-location, help some private landowners avoid the condemnation process, and maybe shorten the route of some things. So I think Commissioner Peterson might fill you in some more when he does his monthly update as well. Anyway.
On that, I think that that's a good path to go down. So I think that the county really would like to identify transmission corridors
Yes.
instead of having lines running all over kind of willy-nilly. You know, I think that county was pushing that when the B2H or the Wheat Ridge line was built,
Yes.
and acknowledging where B2H was going to go and making accommodations so that everything can go up that area. Obviously, that corridor is now going to be full, so we need to identify other corridors to accommodate
Yeah.
transmission lines for the renewable energy projects that are coming to the Morrow County.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback, and I'm glad you said that, because when you were on the planning commission, the county adopted and worked on that, and the state also adopted a specific administrative rule called the Green Energy Corridor for the purpose of co-locating instead of having transmission lines. It's one of those unintended consequences of renewable energy development, because the statutes, my opinion, a lot of them are antiquated because the transmission line siding was built for co-ops and utilities, not for private development on private land. There's a whole different protocol that a private developer would have to get permission to build a transmission line than a co-op or utility. And then the long-term maintenance and operation of those is again a one-off. It's not what we're accustomed to. A transmission line goes down, you call your service provider. Around here, it's UEC or Columbia Basin and Pacific Corp on the west side of the airport, and most of 3 Mile is also in Pacific Corp. So co-locating those things and providing some incentive if you co-locate, but they don't always want to play together. And there's reasons for that as well. So I think we have the tools in place, the land use tools in place to do that. So sometimes a little involvement from folks at the governor's office might create the right incentive to make people play in it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Do you, before we go on from that, do you have off the top of your head, I'm not asking for figures and
Okay.
all that good stuff, just kind of an intuitive. Where does Morrow County fall in the state as far as installed and planned renewable ranking, like in a county? Are we up there? Are we number 5, number 10, whatever?
I'm not sure for number 1, and actually, I should have had Stephen pull up the
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah,
are we up here? Are we down?
No, we're way up
That's what I
there.
thought.
The difference between installed and permitted, we have 40,580 acres of approved solar, but of that, less than half is built. And then that doesn't include the 7,000 acre project that we're expecting, and then another 6,000 acre project that's at FSEG. So in terms of solar permitted, I think we're at the top. And wind, I don't think we're at the top anymore, but we're up
And
there.
the reason I ask is because it seems to me the corridor thing kind of falls into
Sure.
where you're gonna be ranked there, if they have, if they're not all fighting to get their own, or output,
Yeah, well, and you can build the facility, but if you don't have a transmission line, it's not gonna do you any good. So it also plays into the discussion that we've had internally and externally about large industrial development, particularly data centers. And I think last month I shared the slides that I had presented to this governor's data center advisory committee. And on my wish list or recommendation would be to create incentive to co-locate energy generation and data centers. So put a data center next to a solar farm, or have the small modular reactors. You eliminate the need really of or significantly reduce the amount of transmission lines. There are a lot of other factors to consider, but we've looked into that. So Stephen has some really great information about some drone work he's done for emergency management, ways to calculate when the county needs to file a claim for an emergency. He's currently working on inventorying all the county rock quarries so that finance can have that value on the books. So if he didn't go out yesterday, it was a little too windy for him yesterday. So code compliance is pretty steady. We've had a couple of really complicated cases at Justice Court. In terms of water planning, I just noted in here, I looked fairly closely at an opportunity to apply to OWRD for some place-based planning grant, which really could be that next step in implementing what the Clean Water Consortium recommended. it's just, we don't really have the bandwidth right now to do it, but that grant program comes about every biennium or so we could look at it next time. Excited to say that the roadmap project, we're in the final stretches. We had the steering committee meeting last week over in Hermiston, and the had a technical memo. It's still in draft form, or I would have attached it, on the non-public water system connection options, which is probably going to be what happens. That's probably for most of the neighborhoods, that's probably the option that's out there. What I'd like to do, I really haven't spent much time talking to Matt about this yet, after we have the final report in August, is look at scheduling another meeting with the two counties. Also the steering committee, they put in a lot of work, giving policy and other guidance. And then brainstorm, also acknowledge the work of the steering committee, GSI, the state agencies who have been really good partners. That wouldn't happen before September. And then just kind of brainstorm and get some other public involvement. And as I've said in the Clean Water Consortium meetings, that roadmap will be just that, a tool for the Clean Water Consortium to look at other projects. We've been focusing on the West Glen neighborhood, which seems like the low-hanging fruit because it's immediately adjacent to the city of Boardman, but just the physical and legal ability to provide water is just one part that makes it really complicated otherwise. Let's see. We're still waiting for final approval through procurement at ODOT to start our transportation system plan update. And I think that's all.
That's it? You've always got a lot going.
Well, I know we do. I have a great crew also. So it takes a minute to explain some of these projects. So anyway, I didn't talk about them all.
Appreciate your efforts.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That would be our treasurer's monthly report. Jaylene is, I don't see her on there. Generally, it's just a written report. Accounts payable monthly report, same with Kevin, unless he wants to add anything. No, okay. And then the county administrator report.
I have a short report that I've submitted. Just wanted to highlight a couple of the items. Public Works Director transition. We have the interim director, Rory Rowlett, who's working away on that. The job has been posted. We have about 4 weeks posted on that. So we're almost halfway through the posting, and we'll be reviewing applications at the end of that. West Glen Water Project, just an update is that Clean Water Consortium was initially going to do an IGA with the city of Boardman to do the design for West Glen, so we can finalize pricing. Their attorney kind of waved that out because of liability concerns, and so the county is helping facilitate an RFP on behalf of the Clean Water Consortium to engage with an engineering firm to do that work. I was able to meet with our planning department on industrial development listening sessions with the community. They've put together some great information. I've reviewed some, gave some feedback. We'd like to continue to narrow that down, and we've reached out to partners, different groups, and have received overwhelmingly positive interactions of different stakeholders wanting to be involved, both on industry and intergovernmental kind of parties. And so we'll be kind of getting some of that programming filtered down and sifted and bring it to the board in July before we set for a meeting in either August or September. But just wanted to give you an updates on that. And planning's doing a great job running with the banner on that. County Courthouse project, it's coming along. First vertical walls up. It's looking good. If any of the commissioners or whatnot want to go on a little walking tour, they're happy to facilitate that. We've had meetings with the fair, and last night I met with the rodeo board out there with Boughton Construction. Boughton's been very accommodating to minimize impact on those two events that will occur at the end of August. Community assistance grant has been a bit of an item that we're working on. We have a full report on that later this meeting. And I didn't put it in the written report, but I'm very excited about our new HR director starting on Monday. So take that burden off and pass it on. But I have talked with elected officials and my department heads on just, transition kind of desires from their parts. And we'll be working closely with her over the next few weeks to get her up to speed and hopefully off to a great start. So that's what I have to report today.
Okay, any questions on that? Nope. Me neither. Thank you very much. Okay, next up would be the consent agenda. Did anybody want to pull anything out? Well, we have our hand up with Sheriff Bowles. You go ahead.
I don't know if I missed it at the beginning of the meeting because we couldn't hear anything. But if I have a report, if you guys would like.
Yeah. Yeah, give it to us.
Okay. So over the last month, it's been busy. We had a chance to participate in a Boardman Elementary Kids Fair. That was a lot of fun. Anytime we can do anything with the schools, we enjoy that. I also swore in a patrol deputy that comes to us with almost 16 years of experience. 5 of those years as a patrol sergeant. So we're lucky to have him. I also swore in a reserve deputy. That gives us 2 reserve deputies now. Years ago, we saw the numbers really high, but for whatever reason, over the last 10, 15 years, we see a low number of reserve deputies. We also participated in the safety day at the Sage Center with the LAPC, the local emergency planning committee. That event every year is a good event, a good turnout. We're right in the middle of fire season. We've already had several fires in our area. On 2 of those fires, we assisted with traffic control and evacuation notices. And on each one of those fires, our emergency manager has been called out to assist on those fires. We also participated in the Armed Forces Day at the Reese Training Center. That was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of old history in the military and make a lot of good connections out there. So we also were able to release our newsletter. We're trying to do those at least twice a year, but they take a little time to do. We also participated in the May Day celebration in Lexington. That event's been going on for a few years, and it's really turned into a good community event. And we're getting ready for the events in Boardman and Ione for the 4th of July. So that'll be a busy weekend. Our OHV Park and Marine programs are in full swing, busy, and things are going well. And this is our busy time of year. The summer months, we always see a little increase in our call load. Let's see what else here. And recently, Commissioner Peterson was able to do a ride along with one of our sergeants. And so I'd like to thank him for that, taking the time to do that. On the patrol side, we have 2 currently vacancies. And on the patrol side, we're 1 FTE away from my goal of having 2 patrol deputies on per shift. But like I said, right now we do have 2 openings. We have 1 opening in dispatch, but we're almost through the hiring process with that. So hopefully we'll have that person on board pretty soon. So these were all in addition to our normal law enforcement call load. So it's been a busy month. And that's about all I have.
I got a question. And I don't know, was I reading the stats right? Is community or citizen interactions way down and also citations way down for the month?
I can't remember looking at those, but I can look at those and find out.
Okay, I just wondered if there was something.
And that'd be for the last month.
Yeah, last one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious if there's something. Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next up is our consent agenda.
So I will pull out item C to make some comments on more than anything, but
On which one?
item C, the auditor engagement.
Okay,
So with that, I'd approve the consent agenda with pulling out item C.
Okay, do I hear a second? I'll second. Then moved and seconded to approve consent with, except for item C. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carried.
So
Okay,
on
now
this-
we'll move on to 5C.
And then it's page 80 of our packet. It's the use of third-party products. And I realize that, you know, we probably aren't going to change anything here. But when I was reading through it, it just seems like, what troubled me is that towards the end of the first paragraph, it says you hereby consent to the disclosure of your information, including confidential information and blah, 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 with third parties, and agree to all the terms and conditions of a third-party user agreement. Now, I am assuming that the county never gets to see the third-party user agreement that Singer Lewack is signing with some of this stuff, but yet we're agreeing to those terms and conditions.
Look on page 80 of the packet.
Yeah, and it's the use of third-party products. I realize this is probably just boilerplate contract stuff with Singer Lewack, but
On Senior Lueck's proposal, what page does it say? Bottom.
on here it doesn't. Oh, page 9.
Page 9 there.
Page 9 on theirs.
So that's page 89, if you're looking at it online.
Oh, it is 89.
So
Sorry,
that is,
sorry.
so for example, the use of Portal for secure file transmission and collaboration on West. There's several hundred throughout the course of an audit. And so that would be an example of third-party software that's being utilized. And no, we're not privy to the details of those agreements that they have with those third parties. Obviously, they need to be able to disclose confidential and all information to them because it's hosted on their system. So I don't know that there's a way around that. Certainly inquire, but
Like I said, it's more just commentary. But the other aspect of it is, towards the end of that one paragraph, is that it agrees that such county-provided data information may be collected, processed, stored, and used by such licensors for benchmarking, analytics, marketing, and other business purposes in support of the third-party product. So I guess as I read that, you know, if they talk about benchmarking and stuff, is that we're providing our data to somebody else to use, so that then they can turn around and use that stuff to sell and market another service to somebody else, and we get no compensation for providing information for them to make more money.
Correct.
And again, I've realized I'm just venting, I guess.
I completely understand that's kind of the century we're in now, though. And Facebook, for example, any of those platforms and sites, they do the same thing. All of your metadata gets sold and marketed.
I think that's how they're building all the new AI agents, isn't it?
Okay,
That's
I got to do my vents.
Yeah, as long as
I can certainly relay, I'd be more than happy to relay your concerns to St. Louis Black.
I got a quick question. I may have missed it too. Is the total contract capped at a certain amount of money?
Yes,
56,880.
it is $56,880 it's on page 9 of the engagement letter.
I don't know why I missed it. Thank you. Any
Okay,
other
so with
questions?
that, I will move for approval of the auditor engagement.
Okay, I'll second. We move to second to approve 5C. The audit engagement letter for fiscal year ending June 30th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay. Now we're on to a public hearing. Okay, so we have two public hearings, actually. We have one for the fiscal year 26-27 Morrow County budget hearing and adoption, and that's Kevin's gonna have that. So we will, under that, we will start with the way we'll do this is we'll start with the staff report. Then we'll open it up for public comment, anybody that wants to comment. then either for or against or just comment on it. Then we'll close the comment period and then the Board of Commissioners will make their decision. So Kevin, take it away.
So this is the. We're doing the budget first, right? The FY27 budget first, correct? Up for discussion and consideration is the FY 2026-27 county budget. This is a budget that was proposed to the budget committee and deliberated on. They ultimately approved that proposed budget as presented with weren't any changes. And as such, now it's the next step in that process following the required public notices is public hearing and then consideration of adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2026-27.
Okay. Any questions, Kevin?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Well, I guess one for staff is that in the motion here, what I'm looking at doesn't have the resolution number.
15. Yes, 15.
Thanks.
Okay, with that, then we'll open it up to public comment. We'll start with people in the room and then we'll go to Zoom, see if anybody. And this will be not really pro or con on the whole budget, just some comments. Is there someone here that would like to make a comment? That's you, Tom.
It'd be me, Commissioner Chair, Tommy Wolf, representing the Hepner Rural Fire Protection District. I've been speaking with the board in the past, and we have a specific request come out of next year's budget. We, being the district, specifically ask for an $84,000 stipend for the coming year, and hopefully we'll be back every year based on the increased requirements and mandated responsibilities in protecting the Wheat Ridge East wind project. The second is a one-time $300,000 loan from the county, no interest, repayable over 3 years at $100,000 a year. The main reason for this request is the increased responsibility and mandated liabilities that fall on the district due to the county's acceptance of the Wheat Ridge East wind project with no funding, no additional funding coming to the special districts, or in particular, the Hepner Rural Fire Protection District, our needs for equipment to protect that area. It is so steep and so rocky there, the terrain. The district has encumbered over $700,000 worth of additional rolling stock, specifically to meet the chief and the district feels are the responsibilities in that terrain. As an added note, 20% of our calls, it is a nice round number, but it's the actual number, are mutual aid calls to the rest of the county. It's not like these two pieces of equipment that we had to buy are mutually are exclusively for that Wheat Ridge East. They can and will be used throughout the county. Lexington Fire, I Own Rural, Boardman Rescue and Rural. About 20% of our calls are mutual aid to those other districts throughout the entire county. The SIP agreement funds that come from that Wheat Ridge East project come directly to the county. And the special district, the Hepner Rural Fire Protection District, receives no extra funding. So at this time, I'm asking and petitioning the BOC to make those two requests part of the coming year's budget.
Okay.
Thank you. Question?
Stick around in case we got
You
some
bet.
questions here. Okay. When I talked to you, well, when you came to the budget committee, I went back to the 2025 meeting just to refresh my memory on that and listen to the tape again. And you had the request for 80. I don't think you specifically asked for the 374,000 for the truck or anything. I think you just asked for the 80 last in the 2026. Okay, just to make it clear. I was just kind of giving everybody's, you know, a little timeline, make sure we all agree on what's happening. And the way I understand it went down is one of the reasons it wasn't included is because we were facing a $1.5 million hole in our budget. And also the money had not come in, which was raised by one of the budget committee members, is that we would be budgeting money that we don't have. Mike, could you address, so everybody understands what we're talking about on that?
Well, yeah, at the budget committee hearings a year ago, I hadn't gotten the valuation for the Wheat Ridge East project yet, and I did not believe that it was operational in time for us to bill for those additional monies. When I got the Department of Revenue's valuation in late August, it was on the tax roll as operational. I shouldn't say on the tax roll. It was operational and valued as such. So therefore, we did bill for the additional amount, and the county did receive $1,260,235.97 in additional funding that we didn't budget for. And to answer, Kevin just put a question in the chat, if the district receives community service fee, yes, but it is capped at $500,000 dispersed to all districts. And when Wheat Ridge East came on, that did not increase the community service fee at all.
Okay. I want to just add two things to maybe put it how I feel about this. Years ago, those of us who were around CREZ 2, which I know this isn't CREZ, but this is additional payments because of special projects like, you know, renewables. And at that time it was, I think, Lamb Weston, and they were getting ready to build data centers. And the fire chief for the Boardman Monroe fire came to CREZ. I think his name was Mark, but anyway, he came,
Mark Brogelstadt.
Okay, and the CREZ granted him, and he said, you're building all this stuff, but I don't have the equipment to fight it. I can't get on the roof, like all this. And CREZ fronted the money to buy that truck. And it was an impact from what CREZ was doing that they were mitigating. Now, I know, like I said, this is a SIP, it's not a CREZ, but I look at this in the kind of the same manner. The impact from the renewables is causing additional stress on the fire. Is that fair to say? On the fire?
Very fair.
Is what you've said before. At the time last year, I was in favor of this. And you know, my stance was my recommendation was that we push it into the budget for 2026-27 because of we hadn't gotten the money and we had our hole in our budget. And I feel that, at least me, I don't know how everybody else, I don't know if the budget committee made a motion or there was consensus. I just don't remember all that. I guess I should have kept listening and listened more. But Karen Pettigrew was the other one. She wanted to know, she was kind of wary of it because we were like spending money we didn't have. I don't know. That's why I look at this, what your ask is similar to because the premise of, at least CREZ was always use the money to mitigate the effects of the industry that you are attracting with your tax breaks. And I look at this as the same way, even though they're two different projects. So I think that's why I was in favor of it then. And I haven't changed my stance on this. You know, I still feel the same way. So,
Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would just like to say that I am in a similar mindset. I think it might be more appropriate.
Yourself?
This is Gus.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't recognize your voice. Okay.
That's fair, I guess. No, I tested everything yesterday, and then of course it didn't work.
You just
today.
have a
So,
phone.
anyways.
So I didn't know it was you. Okay.
So I just have a phone. Yeah. So, yep, I'm the 458 number. So anyways, this is Commissioner Peterson. Hello, everybody. So I agree with Chair Sykes' mindset. The way that I recall the meeting last year was that the budget committee was in favor of using SIP money towards this end. We just didn't think that the SIP money was going to come in. And so my suggestion is actually going to be when we get to 6B, when we make our budget, what is the specific term? Our proposed budget changes for this fiscal year. Part of that is that SIP money that came in that we didn't think was going to come in. I think that would be an appropriate place to make that change. So that's my thought.
All right, thanks. I guess it's Matt and Kevin's time because they put together the budget. Do you have something to tell us or talk about this discussion? Or
I mean, I don't have any particular opinion on it one way or the other. I certainly, if the board wants to move forward with it, I can make a recommendation on where that funding comes from and what that would do. I respectfully would disagree with Commissioner Peterson. I think it would be probably a better approach to adopt the FY27 budget than amend that and handle this after the 1st of July, just because of notice requirements. That's the supplemental budget that I noticed that's on the agenda for public hearing today doesn't include that change. It's would be significant enough that would require an additional public notice with a minimum of 5 days publication requirement. So that makes it pretty tight against the end of the year with the publishing cycle of the newspaper. So I would just recommend that it be an FY27 transaction. The money's not going anywhere between now and then because it was budgeted as a resource. Assuming that we're talking about the excess revenue from the Wheat Ridge SIP, that was just budgeted as an additional resource. Most of it's probably allocated towards the capital improvement fund. I'd have to double check that for sure, but.
okay. And like I said,
Yeah,
go ahead, Gus.
I accept Kevin's respectful suggestion. Thank you, Kevin.
And I'm glad. Well, what I would like to see, and I've said this many times when we have requests for money, and this doesn't pull out one particular request, any requests on a budget that we already have established. I would like to see where the money comes from, which I think you have indicated. But I'd just like that to be not a written policy, but just kind of a policy of the BOC, and not to think that we just have a big pot of money unallocated and we can just keep dragging it out. You know, there's consequences when you move it around. So I appreciate that. You know, if you put money to this, if you fund this, you defund something else. And that's decisions we will make. But I like us to have that information, so, anyway. But like I said, my feeling is, I at least personally recommitted to it and last year, and I think we ought to carry forward with that commitment. I get a question on he's asking for a loan. Now, is that something that's doable, Kevin, or?
Certainly.
Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not getting afoul of the auditors.
No, we can certainly do that.
All right.
Chair, just for the $84,000 annually, what's the proposed term for that distribution?
In the district's thoughts, it's would be a similar item as to the current SIP monies the district receives from the Wheat Ridge East proper standard project, if you will. And that was a 15-year SIP agreement that I recall. So the district does expect to come back into the budget hearings every year and ask for about that value of money from the annual payment the county receives from Wheat Ridge East, the additional funds the county receives each year. And I don't know the length. I'm suspecting it's a 15-year community use program.
So this isn't for the specific equipment, it's for the life of this.
Yes, the training and ongoing.
Just wanted to
required.
clarify that.
Can I offer an additional comment? So I was speaking more in reference to the equipment. Yeah, the $84,000 annually, that becomes more of an operating expenditure, and would need to be considered in light of our overall operating budget. And we'll probably have to have discussion on where the board would like that funding to come from. And then, but as a side note, so essentially that's a grant, and I know it was the previous intention to keep those all within a program, but one of the byproducts of how the community assistance grant program was set up, where it limited special districts or districts with taxing authority to make requests, just kind of created a carve out for those grants. So I don't know. That's just to point that out.
Okay. All right, any other thoughts on this?
I would add, just listening to what Kevin had just said, I understand that taxing districts aren't allowed into the community assistance grant program.
When we have our discussion, we talked, if you remember.
Well, I know.
You called and
He
asked.
said it was a carve out, but we did apply it.
And I
so
said-
we're not eligible for
That
that. So
time
it's
I
not
said-
really a carve out for those.
Yeah, that's not the
those
program
entities.
for you, because we had a discussion about that when the story first came out that we were setting it up. You had called me, and I said, that won't work because it's not set up for, in my mind, it never was, because anyway, for various reasons, but so
So that's why
it was clear from the beginning.
Yeah,
I
that's why
just want to
we're
make sure.
That's why we're here today, because we're asking for a small piece of that Wheat Ridge East community development money that they pay in.
Well, I think the way we're doing it now is better
Okay.
than even if you were allowed to go with the grants. Number one, I think it models after what I just talked to you about, the impact of what you're doing with tax incentives, the impact on public services like fire, police, and should that money have a priority to mitigate that? Chris has said it many, many times, doesn't always happen because they spread it all over, but they do give money to police and, anyway, that's my thinking is this is better.
You bet. I concur.
Because it's specifically tied to your additional, I don't want to call it hardship, it's what you do, is is predicated on what was done with, to give the SIP tax breaks to get the renewables. Okay, anyway.
So I know that by the sound of it, I'm going to be outvoted here, but I'm going to express my opinion on this. Is I will take exception, or my view, Dave, is that I don't know that the budget committee was in favor of this, you know, because there may have been a couple members, but since it was kind of talked about, it was going to be pushed off, and then it was never talked about again during this budget committee session. So I don't know if the budget committee really was in favor of it, since, you said as your notes there showed that Karen Pettigrew maybe had some issue with it. And there were other people that maybe didn't have the opportunity to express something. As far as the additional impact, it sounds like the fire district has been receiving some of the community service fund from when Wheat Ridge first started. So they've been receiving additional money for the impacts of the Wheat Ridge project. Maybe not Wheat Ridge East, but that was all part of the big project. So they've been receiving additional money for that. As far as additional impact to the fire district, I don't know that there is any, in that the fire districts always had the obligation to go put out fire in that area, whether that be a lightning strike or a piece of equipment starts a fire up there. So they've always had the obligation and the need to go put out that fire. And as far as the additional impact of the wind turbine starting a fire, to my knowledge, there's not been a fire started in Morrow County because of a wind turbine. So I can't say that there is, we've had probably close to 20 years worth of experience now with wind turbines in Morrow County. And to this day, there has not been a fire attributed to a wind turbine. So I don't know that there is the additional impact when you make that argument. With the CREZ 2 example, is because Boardman didn't have a ladder truck to fight a fire on a multi-story building. And that's why they needed that specialized piece of equipment. Now, the thing that's changed out there where they're fighting, they aren't going to be using a ladder truck. It's a brush rig. They've always had the possibility of a brush fire out there for the reasons I described before. Lightning, equipment, something starting a fire. So I understand, based off what I've heard you and Gus say, I realize I will be outvoted on this, but I had to say my piece on it.
I do want to say one thing is what you said was you didn't think the budget committee approved that. And I think it was pretty clear here that I don't know that either. All I was talking about is my personal thoughts.
Sure.
That's what I said. I don't,
Okay.
I said, I don't know if the budget committee ever voted or there was even a consensus. I said those two things. So
Okay.
I'm not implying that the budget committee, I'm just saying personally,
Sure.
I had made a personal commitment. Okay. Right.
I think it sounds like regardless moving forward, we will probably need to do this as another supplementary budget thing. So I think we can probably focus on just the budget that we've got posed, which is a very good budget. So do we have any more discussion on that?
Well, that's the next question up here is how do Kevin, how do we do this? Do we ask for further testimony on any other changes in the budget or?
Well, so it's public hearing, so the standard procedures for hearing public comment related to the FY 27 budget that's been approved by the budget committee. Are we talking about specific to Hefner?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I'm
is if somebody else has something they would like to talk about with the budget, that would be done now. We don't vote on each individual.
No.
Just want to make sure
Just a
we're
public
doing it the way that works for you. So I will call now if there's anybody else that wants to speak on the budget. That sound right, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to make sure people on Zoom have the opportunity, if anybody now would like to speak on the upcoming budget, raise your hand, please. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Been going on. Okay. With that, we'll close the public testimony.
Sure. Is there anybody else in the room? because we've asked.
Oh, yeah, I guess I should ask. Is there anybody else in the room that wants to speak to what's in our budget, proposed budget? Right. With that, we'll close the public testimony part of the public hearing. And now the board will deliberate.
I'll move to approve and adopt resolution R-2026-15, adopted Morrow County budget, making appropriations and levying ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2027 as reflected therein.
I second.
That's as is.
Yes,
As
and
is.
I think even Gus made a great point, and Kevin may have alluded to it. We will adopt this budget, and if you want to move forward with the request, that will be a budget adjustment. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, so I guess my suggestion would be a follow-up action to, once the budget's adopted, maybe a motion to direct staff to prepare a budget adjustment for X, whatever, the board's preferences on that, to amend the FY27 budget, and then we can get to work and put that together.
And we can work the documents as far as the loan and everything else and bring that back to you at a future date.
That'd be with the budget adjustment, but.
Okay, the move and seconded to adopt the budget. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Now we need to craft a second one before we move on. For what was discussed, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
if, assuming it's the board's preference, I would suggest something like a motion to direct staff to prepare a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2027 and related documents to accommodate Hebner Fire
Rural Fire District's
request.
Did you get that, Valerie?
Not exactly.
Here, I can make that motion.
Okay.
I move to direct staff to create a supplementary budget adjustment for the fiscal year of 27 to accommodate Hebner Rural Fire District's request.
Yeah, I'll second it. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Okay, next up would be 6B, our supplemental budget hearing and adoption. Kevin.
Okay, so this is a multi-program budget adjustment for fiscal year 2026. There's a number of funds that are affected, and there's some cleanup. I wasn't intending on running through every individual adjustment, but I did provide details in the supplemental budget notice and the attachments in the packet. So this would again modify the budget and appropriations for fiscal year 2026.
Any, okay, that's a staff report. Any questions of staff? Okay. We'll now open the supplemental budget hearing up for, is there anybody in the room that wants to give public testimony on this? Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to give public testimony on the supplemental budget? Raise your hand. Nope. Gone. Okay, so we'll close the public testimony and now the board will make its decision.
Well, I'll move to approve resolution R-2026-11, modifying the budget and appropriations for fiscal year 2025 and 2026 as reflected therein.
I second.
Then moved and seconded for the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Sure. With this supplemental budget, we corrected a bunch of the items that we have in preparation of the year end. There are a few more that we will need to be doing, just very small cleanups. We'll be asking for a special session, should be fairly short, a week from Friday, right, well, at the end of the year, and should be a very short meeting, probably Zoom only. But I wanted just to see if the board could accommodate that to make sure we're all tightened up on year end. So
The last Friday
Yes.
of June.
yes,
It's okay with me.
Yeah.
How you, okay,
we'll try to shoot for in the morning, get it taken care of, and we can make the adjustments accordingly. So
sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is our first business item, Spur Loop Road right-of-way dedication. All right,
And just before you jump on, thank you for your hard work on this, Kevin, especially balancing with the ERP. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. Rory Rolette, Public Works Deputy Director.
John Hussein, NextEra Energy.
So this is a right-of-way dedication for some improvements that were done to Spur Loop Road during the last wind energy project. Providing some better access point off of Sand Hollow and took out some of the sharp corners. Better safety and better access. John has been working with the landowners, getting all the documentation, everything signed off on. And we will be looking at vacating these sections. We just about have all the documentation for that and hope to get that at the next POC. Anything you want to add?
Not too much further, Commissioners. Great to meet you all for the first time, but yeah, just from a NextEra perspective, highlighting the safety portion that around that bend, it might be hard to see on that right away. So really just from a NextEra perspective, we see this as a step towards more safety in that area and then also helping out our landowners. So nothing further to add.
you probably said it. I wasn't listening close enough. What's your title?
Developer.
All right. Any questions of either Rory or Kevin? I mean, John?
Not for me.
So I'll move to approve right-of-way dedication of Spur Loop Road as presented.
Did I hear a second?
I second.
Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All opposed?
Aye.
Sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next is the approval of proposed Morrow County Community Assistant Grant Program distribution for fiscal year 2027.
Commissioners, this is the ratification action for the Morrow County Community Assistance Grant Program. Mentioned a little bit earlier with the Hefner Rural Fire District. During this year's inaugural process, we had over 28 applicants for this program. There were 5 of them that did not qualify for consideration, whether they were a private entity or an existing taxing entity, as had been established by the BOC. And so we actually had several items or entities that had applied for. We had our committee review the applications and do follow-up, and I just want to take my hats off to that committee, particularly Christy Kinney, who was one of our staff representatives, along with Rory. Christy really took it by the horns and ran that committee and did a great job with follow-ups. They made additional calls to the applicants for clarification and everything, and it went really well. A lot of these applicants have been involved with the county for funding previously, seniors, some of the tourism activities, as well as the food banks. But we did have some new ones that came through from this. They include a one-time capital request from Willow Creek Terrace Assisted Living, Morrow Discovery Center, and South Morrow Arts Center for some operational items, and Pacific Northwest Veterans Alliance for assistance on their programs. We also had several other smaller groups that had applied and wanted to make sure to see if they could do it. We couldn't give all the applicants money just because we didn't have enough, and some of the other programs were justified enough that we just had to cap it at a certain point. I do want to make note on a couple of the items. This is our inaugural year. We're kind of working through some items. The Oregon Trail Pro Rodeo boosters had applied, and we have a regular. We've regularly funded them for running the rodeo each year. They had applied, and their nonprofit status is kind of questionable. They had applied, got it registered for the with the state, and this was back in 2017. And as they went through, the amounts of money that was going through their hands didn't really require them to go out to IRS registration. That changed during COVID, and they've kind of been working on that, but haven't done it. Met with the rodeo board last night, and they're asking that if we could proceed with the award, they'll have that taken care of before any issuance of money. So they are getting their 501c3 classification registered with the IRS. The other aspect was with some of the event community events. Those had previously been applied for on bulk through a tourism request. For this year, we had the person who handled that request if we needed to do it all together or separate. And I said, because of the timing, do it all together. But when we came back, we only had one city's representation in those applications. I did reach out to a couple of the other cities on the status. They said they have no problem applying separately, but if we could award those under last year's auspices and make sure that they apply individually next year, I'd rather do that than cut out support on a technicality. And so those are the awards. The three that we were not able to fund was Kings Garden Church, which was a request for some playground equipment. Willow Creek Country Club, which is looking at some capital improvements, and La Liga Latina de Boardman, a local soccer league that we just did not have the funds to do on those. However, we'd like to, because they do have impacts for the community, that we'd like to, even if we don't award it, we'd like to reach out to them and help point them in direction and put letters of support because we think they're very worthy projects and do help out around the county. With this, we'd ask for your support in ratifying this. This is something that the committee had scored, and as Kevin, as the finance director, and myself reviewed, we tried to keep faithful with the scoring of the committee, just reducing a few to make it so it's budget reconciled. And at this point, we are ready to, with your ratification and approval, distribute $455,955 in community assistance grants, if that works for and is approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Questions? I got a question.
Go
ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
My question to Kevin was, this is budgeted as a lump sum, right?
Yes, 458,000.
Okay. Is there auditing rules on who gets money, what's it spent on in the county?
No, that's completely up to the board's discretion. Well,
sure.
Through the program and the guidelines that you put forth with the grant program.
Yeah. Now the guidelines we made sure the guidelines conformed to what's allowed under ORS and all that, right? I mean, you county can't just give money to anything to anybody, right? I mean,
I think that's more of a question of should. I'm not aware of any specific restrictions on the county in Oregon granting money to a private individual, private entity. But you know, there's a question of, does that make sense to do?
No, yeah, that's a separate issue to me. I just want to make sure that, and I know you're very good at this, to make sure we're clean, because it's a lump sum. This is handled separately, so we don't approve all of these in the budget. We don't have any. We're not mandated to go and make sure they spent the money where they're supposed to. I saw in here that you want that,
yes.
But
And that is one thing is we do require reporting. I'm of course, whenever we do have any program like this and establish it, it is public trust money. And so whether it's coming from the general fund or in this largely from tourism based funds and our SIP and CRES funds that we might have, we do want to make sure it's a proper and a feasible use of public funds.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the reporting. If they don't provide the reporting, they'll be knocked down and for future considerations. And that's something we're going to strongly monitor. And I'll be following up with the committee for additional feedback on that, so we can make sure this process continues and we have good stewardship of the public funds.
I think that's one of the advantages of living in a small county. Everybody knows what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So
And
they kind of watch out for what the, yeah, okay.
yes.
And I wasn't questioning it from that side, Matt. I was
Mhm.
just making sure that we were following ORS and all that. And I know Kevin does a real good job watching that. So that was all my question.
I actually think in some ways I don't think we're in violation previously, but we're at a higher standard with this program than previous distributions.
Absolutely.
Gus, did you have something you wanted to add on this?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Chair. Matt, if you could just walk me through, so I see that the committee provided a list amounting to $498,955. How did you and Kevin sort of whittle that down? Was it solely based on scores and was, all right, these are the top 15 scores and this is how we're going to do it? If you could just walk me through that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, part of it was looking at those. We did give credence to previous recipients of county funds, which included the seniors and the food banks. We figured that those were critical services. That's also kind of the keyword that kind of kept in my mind. It was critical services for the community. Boardman Food Pantry and the Irrigon Boardman Emergency Assistance. We did have access to the scoring that the committee gave it, not the total breakdown, but the points that were given. And the 3 projects that we have are new requests, so they wouldn't have that additional bonus, but also just that critical services. As we reduced funds a bit, generally the committee had actually given some suggestions on what should be given. And so we went with that as best we could. We did reduce a little bit, specifically for some requests from previous. We wanted to maintain previous levels of funding, which meant they didn't get their full request, but they did get a significant request for like some of the groups that Neighborhood Center for South Morrow. They had asked for $75,000 for additional services. We maintained their previous amount of $50,000. Boardman Food Pantry had requested $100,000, partially more or less $50,000 was for operationals and $50,000 was for capital. And because of the rebuild effort, and we had to maintain the $50,000 because of the others that had scored higher on their applications and just the value of the items. So we tried to spread the funds as best we could. The tourism ones that came in that were kind of doing a one-time exception, they only accounted for $11,000 of that. So that was something that I pushed for and wanted to make sure that those community events continued without interruption from county funding. But we tried to make sure we divvied out the available funds as best as we could.
Okay. So my follow-up question, and thank you for that. Did the committee know that the budgeted amount was $458,000 and they said, all right, here's $498,000. Good luck, Matt and Vince, or Matt and Kevin, and good luck?
We did. When they started, we did not have a specific amount. We had a kind of a range. I told them not to go over $500,000. And so that's kind of where they shot for. And so as we got the budget adopted, we needed to adjust down to the actual amount that was available.
Okay. All right.
And
so
it was a struggle. Go ahead.
No, it's a great it's a great first go, and we get the opportunity to continue to improve. I would love to see, you know, as we're going forward, like you said, if somebody submitted an application and they scored high, I'd like them to see a bump for the next year. And then secondarily, I know that this is just a difficult thing, but if we could have that committee have what their real top budget line item is, I think that would be helpful in the future. But otherwise, I'm very happy and impressed, and well done to everybody involved.
Yeah. And I have to say they struggled with it. I mean, they kind of wanted to slice the pie and share it equally, make sure everybody got something, but some of the projects had to take precedence based on how they prepared it and the information they had, and also the impact on communities. So my hat's off to the committee. They took a great job and made it their own, and they did great. And I have to make sure that they're willing to do it again next year. So it's because it was a struggle.
That was one of I thought it was that way, but there could be turnover on all of them.
There could be.
And then
Some of them expressed interest in continuing, and others were like, that was hard. So,
and when they're over budget, it will continue to be staff that whittles it down.
we did, and we did pull in Christy as the head of the committee when Kevin and I met, just to ask questions and understand the committee's direction on this. And she was extremely helpful in explaining the committee's nuanced reasons on some of the projects that had been submitted and the scores that they had received.
Okay, any other questions on this? Have a motion that's adjusted.
So I'll move to ratify the FY 2027 community assistance grant distributions as recommended by the MCCAG committee and finalized by the county administrator and finance director.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Sign. Motion carried. Well, thank you, and I'm sure you thanked the people involved for their hard work.
I'll be sending out personal thank yous on
That's
that. I haven't done
good.
that yet. So.
You think giving away money would be easy, but
You could always give away more.
thank you
That's
for
the
doing
problem.
that. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Okay, enough on that. Okay, the next up is 7C, consideration of Morrow Soil and Water Conservation District funding request, and that's you, Matt.
So this is one, there's kind of similarities with the Hefner Rural Fire District item. Good need, something they applied for the community assistant grant. We had to deny them because they are a taxing entity. Morrow Soil and Water Conservation District is a special district, so to fall under that, we don't award to those. But they're also in an interesting situation where they have taxing authority, but they choose not to use it. And so they do not receive a property tax levy for their services. They're solely dependent on grants and program from the state and federal government and the county. We're one of the highest contributors to individual contributors to their budget. And so pretty much they have come to the county on a yearly basis asking for support and receiving a grant distribution. It doesn't fit under the new program, and yet this would be a serious impact to their operational items. And we believe that their partnership with water issues and just with residents and property owners throughout the county, it is a beneficial use and critical service to the county. In considering this, staff would like to propose a couple options to help facilitate that. The first one would be to amend the community assistant grant program to allow consideration of these. The other one is to possibly just go into a direct contractual agreement similar to the Oregon State Extension Services for 4-H, where we recognize this is a valuable service and we want to maintain this relationship, and we just set up a contract to do so. We could do that, kind of sets soil water conservation district mind at ease, so they don't have to come every year to request, but we could set a 3 to 5 year system where they know what they're getting, they can plan on it, and they can report annually on those activities. Other option is, you know, more or less say they have a taxing authority, they could do it, please pursue that, and we'd rather have you do that. That would have to go to a vote of the to Morrow County residents, and so there is questions on whether that would be acceptable or not. Each of these options is a policy determination by the board, and so we're requesting direction on this and seeing how we can proceed. If this is something the county wants to continue funding, just providing direction. I personally would lean towards the multi-year funding agreement, an interlocal agreement. If this is something you'd like to fund, we would do so, and we would make more or less fund this from the general fund contingency line item for their request. Just to let you know, their previous request was about $75,000. They could bump that up to $95,000, and so that is a consideration for the board of commissioners as well. So with that, open it up to questions or discussions by the board, and look forward to some direction for us to go forward.
Yeah, okay, any questions about?
I don't have any questions. I've got thoughts. I'm also leaning towards a multi-year funding agreement. I think that's better for the long term for everybody involved. I'm not sure that I want us to be doing, going up 20,000 every year. I don't think that would be a wise agreement. I would be, in greater favor of, maybe 65 or 70,000. And if they really have greater need, then put that to the voters for a tax. But that's just kind of how I feel about it. I don't want to enter into an agreement for a taxing district that chooses not to tax, which is great. But if the reason they choose not to tax is solely because we're picking up the tab, I don't know. That's just my thought.
Because as you're just driving that, Gus, is almost taxation without representation, because they are taking tax dollars from everybody without really getting a say, is that they want to support that program.
Yeah. So I think some support, I would absolutely, yes, the Soil and Water Conservation District does a lot of good work, and I am in favor of supporting them, but I'm not, it could be put to the voters, and it would be for if they need to pick up $40,000, I mean, what would that rate be? It's got to be absolutely minuscule. So I feel like they should be able to make that case to the voters that it's worth that. That's my thought.
My thought is, they say we don't want to go to the voters for a tax. Well, who the heck does? We have it, so let's let the county do it, and then they'll just slip us a check. And that's not derogatory to what they do at all. It's just, why can't the voters pay for what the service provide, just like every other district, whether you're cemetery district or you're, Parks and Rec, or they all go to the voters and say, this is what we're providing. Approve our tax. Now, I'm not so sure about, that's just the way I feel, is bite the bullet, sell your case to the voters, and have your future in your own hands. But I don't like to see it just get cut off. Maybe we could have a weaning process where we'd say, okay, we're going to fund it, this amount for one more year, and then you have to go, because we got a heavy lift. We got a lot of expenses ourselves, And anyway. I don't see what makes this group special than a lot of other taxing districts that maybe don't like going to the voters. I don't understand why they're special. I mean, I know they do a lot of good work. I did that. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, the other option is they charge a fee for their services. Those that use it pay it.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Yeah.
And that is shown in their budget. It's part of the revenue, definitely.
You know, there again,
Well, then they aren't charging enough for their services if they're having a budget shortfall. But I agree with you, Dave, you know, to cut them off cold turkey wouldn't be the right thing to do. And what I hear from Gus is he isn't in favor of $95,000, you know, $20,000 jump. You know, last time they got a $10,000 jump, so are you agreeable to a $5,000 or $10,000 increase this year, Gus?
So instead of 95,000, having it being 80,000?
80 or 85, that'd be 5 or 10.
Yeah, and I guess, and it would depend on, you know, how you guys feel. I would prefer, you know, a multi-year agreement that says, all right, we'll fund 70,000. So you guys know for the next 3 years, this is what you're getting from us. Get your stuff figured out for how you might want to be funding anything else beyond that moving forward. Because that's going to take time and I want to give them that time, but also provide a level of incentive that if you want extra, you're going to have to figure out how to do it and not necessarily just rely on us. But that's how I feel about it.
We could put that into the IGA if that's the direction to do that, is saying you have a 2 to 3 year funding agreement with the county. And during that time, we need you to demonstrate your investment in a possible taxing levy.
Because they have the authority to do that. So why be robbing from the county? Because as Dave says, you know, we have our own things we need to spend money on. And I'll channel my inner Dave is, so where's the money come from? What aren't we funding if we're funding this?
And that's, I mean, just looking at that, by and large, they benefit the people outside the cities. And then the city wise with compression might not see any change in their taxing amounts. This is just, I'm not the tax assessor, and so I'm just speaking a little bit from what I'm believing. So it might be just a tax on the property owners that are really impacted by them. So
Well, there's probably some property owners that receive no benefit from them.
Yes, definitely. So if you're open to that, be happy to take a motion in that direction and we can work that out. I did get in touch with Soil Water Conservation District. They're much more open to the idea of a funding agreement, and we can discuss with them the desire to explore, you know, that taxing levy rather than just living off of more or less a charitable agreement from the county.
when you say explore, I mean, that implies that, well, we'll just put it off on the back burner and
we could almost,
life will go along as it is.
we could almost put it together and we'd have to talk with them and figure that out. I mean, during the second year, if it's on the ballot, or third year on the ballot, I mean, we can't say you've got to have a tax levy by the end of 3 years, but we can say you've got to have taken it to the ballot, take it to the voters by that time, and you know, then we'll see what the voters say.
I kind of like that idea.
Yeah.
But just put a definite timeline on it and what the outcome, I mean, the process is we're looking for. We're looking for some effort.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, discussion is to me not effort. I mean, it is, but it doesn't cause the outcome that maybe we want.
Yeah.
To just talk about it. Because I don't want, they do good things. I gotta make sure people understand that. I know they do really good things. It's just that we have to look at the county as a whole and all the things we've got going on with our capital improvement and all the other things and all the wants we have and say, okay, you know,
I think we can definitely work on something that, and that of course would come back to the Board of Commissioners before final.
okay, what do you want, a motion or consensus?
Yes, so do you need a motion or do you have a consensus agreement to work on something or some guardrails? Or-
I would actually just have a motion to direct staff to work on a multi-funding agreement for SWCD with consideration for them to explore a taxing option.
I move to direct staff to have conversations with the Morrow County Soil, Water, and Conservation District about multi-year funding agreements with the understanding of exploring and moving towards tax funding for the district.
I second that.
We moved in second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay. Thank you, Board.
Okay. Next up would be our update to county employee policies. It's a two-section deal.
So what we have is we have two policies that have come up during our time, and I figured this would be just a good meeting to take care of those. The first one is employee policy 2U, job classification. We have some minor changes that we have, some grammatical changes, but the biggest one is on the reclassification process. When this was initially adopted, it was allowed that the reclassification application may only be submitted by the department head or the employee in the position. And since this was adopted in 2023 or something like that, we've never had an employee submit until this last cycle, and we had about 9 submit on their own. And this just created some interesting discussions. Department heads were then put into kind of a hard discussion on those. Also, it circumvented all of those positions that submitted it by the employee. It circumvented involvement by the union. And that really should be their represented employees that should be going through the union. They do have a process in order to make any kind of things if an employee is working out a classification. So with that, the gist of this first policy is just to strike that or the employee in the position and make it so the department head. If a department head and an employee have discussions and they really need to reclass, they can take care of it with the department head support, nor the department head can curtail it as necessary. And so we'd ask for that. The other items are just grammatical.
Could we talk about each one separately? I mean, rather than.
Yes, and this one has the motion just for this one, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I have a motion, but.
Yeah. I was gonna stop.
Stop and then. Okay, you say this was implemented in 2022?
The last time it was touched was October 23. And so just almost 3 years.
Was that added that the employee gets to submit that at that time, or was it always in there?
I think it was always in there, Dave. I won't swear to that, but I believe it's so.
I'm trying to get to the gist of why employee would be able to do that.
It's partially partially for representative cases. If an employee thinks they're working out of class and the department head is pushing it down, then they have the opportunity to do that. By and large, most of our employees are represented. They can use the union, and the union can advocate for them in that regard. Non-represented employees would still have to go through their department heads, which generally the non-represented ones are managers or department heads, and so they would be able to have that consideration and discussion.
And I mean, we just went through one of these, but now the process is, when the employee does it, they bring it to the department head, and the department head brings it to you?
No, the employee submits it directly to HR.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And so right now, we'd like to limit it so the department head has to submit. And I mean, even in this last year's, we had individual employees submit it, and then the department head came back and said, yeah, they really are, or Not as much as they should be, but yes, they should be reclassified. But we want to make sure that that discussion happens before it goes to HR.
I read that, but now I don't remember. Is there an appeal process on this?
So the appeal process is you go through the process, goes to HR, they're supposed to do the analysis of it and then bring it to the personnel committee, the reclassification committee, which is HR, finance director, myself. And then we make a determination and I submit the determination on whether we're going to take it to the board or not. If we don't, or if they have any umbrage with the determination of that committee, they can appeal directly to the BOC. And so the employee or department head the department head in this case could come and say, board, I really think we need to reclassify this, but that's only after it goes to the committee and the committee's.
Employee would only appeal to whom again? Say that again.
I'm sorry. Currently, the employee would come to the board themselves,
Change.
but with this change, it would go back to the department head.
They would appeal to the department head. Department head would have final say.
In this, if the department head, with the change, the department head would be the submitter. If the committee said no, then the department head could bring it directly.
Right, but the employee, if the employee goes to the department head, which is the chain of command, and says, I'm working out of class, would you submit a change for me? And the department head says no, does the employee have any more recourse? Is that the end of it?
Right now, the way it's written, that would be the end of it, unless they're union, and then they could appeal through the union process, make a, then the union could be involved on that.
Well, does taking this away have a problem with the union and your contract?
No, in fact, when I brought it up with the union representatives, they're like, yeah, we don't want employees submitting directly. We want them working through us.
But I think the important thing that, and it's written in here, at least in one spot, is that it needs to be the job and not the employee. The classification is this title at this level does these functions.
Yes.
It's not that the employee is doing something different. If you're overqualified for your position, that's the thing. I mean, people in the private industry take positions that they're overqualified for all the time. So.
Yes. And that's one thing with with this classification. I think there's language directly in here saying classification shouldn't be used to just give promotions for people doing a great job. It should be if the job has fundamentally changed. And so that's and if it has, then the department head should be cognizant of that. Case in point, if we had a health department worker who's now suddenly administrating more programs than the original job description stated, that is a justification for reclassification. We take that through the process, make sure it's classified correctly, and bring it back. The union's fear is we get people who are similar quality, similar jobs, and suddenly one's above in a different classification than the others, then they get grievances. And so that's one reason why the union is much more particular on go through the process with either the department head as a position or the union as the position or employee if necessary.
Any other questions for Matt?
And I really look forward to having an HR director bring this to you then, just me.
So I will move to approve amendment to employee policies 2U job classification effective June 18th, 2026.
Do I hear a second? I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 You there, Gus?
I am here. I'm going to be a nay because I don't love the employee having no recourse if a department head says no. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Did we vote? All in
Yeah.
favor? Okay, aye. All opposed, same side.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, then our next one up is the 6B bad weather emergency closure.
This one is just more or less a process. This was an older policy. I didn't have the exact date when this was adopted. But this one is with the emergency closure, changing it to fit the new formats as we're going through. But also the existing policy has the closure of county offices being made by the department heads. This could lead to potential confusion if, you know, planning decides to shut down, but administrative service or community services doesn't. And so this just kind of consolidates it. So the county administrator is the one to give the thumbs up, thumbs down. We do realize that there are certain departments and offices that this doesn't affect. I mean, the sheriff's office, public works, they keep working no matter what. But we just want to make sure that there's consistency and determination. Of course, county administrator would be working with the department heads because we're spread out 5 different areas, and would be able to make a determination based on the scope. If south end of the county is getting slammed by snow, but nothing up here, you know, we can make that determination and relay that messaging appropriate. And so pretty much that's the change, is the county administrator will decide whether to close operations and to what extent Morrow County will close. The others are just some grammatical changes and
You got any
updates.
questions about?
Nope.
I do. This to me has labor problems written all over it. I noticed Justin approved it. Was our labor attorney run? Did they run that by?
We didn't send it to the labor attorney. We did send it out to the union representatives. I did hear back from ASME, from the Sergeants Union, and from the Teamsters Union, and they all gave us a thumbs up on it.
They did.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. You got any questions, guys?
Nope, seems pretty straightforward.
Okay.
So I'll move to amend the county employee policy 6B emergency closure effective June 18th, 2026.
Do I hear
A
something?
second.
Moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Okay, our last business item. It's one I put on the agenda, and this is with the whole email. You can read it probably. The critical energy infrastructure 20% reduction by the city of Portland. So I looked at that and I thought, wow, what's that? You know, I understand Portland. I understand their politics, but when it starts, anyway, affecting especially an agricultural community like ourselves, plus we all drive a long distance. So I called Kevin at the grain growers, the general manager, and I said, I sent this to him. I said, have you seen this? He goes, no. He's concerned. There is a Teams meeting tomorrow to talk about it. He said he's gonna have a couple of his fuel people on there. He did preliminary tell me that, well, I'm not gonna speak for him, but to me, this looks ominous. And the reason I wanted to put it on here before I attended the meeting tomorrow morning was there's a June 30th cutoff date to comment to the city of Portland about this program. You know, it doesn't have an implementation till I think 2030 or something, but still, that's how things get rolling, you know? So you lose 20% of your fuel, and I'm not familiar. Jeff, you might know better how fuel is distributed across Oregon, you know? I mean, this organization that sent it to me said it would affect people from, you know, clear down to Ashland, you know?
Well, I think that the Port of Portland is one of the main ports where, you know, fuel will come in on ocean-going ships, gets offloaded there to the tank farms, and then from the tank farms, it gets distributed out. I know from Don Russell's days of having Russell Oil, Portland was one of their main places where they bought fuel. I mean, they did buy some at Umatilla, there over at Burbank at the tank farm, but I think lots of times most of their fuel came from Portland. And that was just one example. And as you drive down the gorge, you often see tankers going both ways, empty to Portland to load up and loaded going east. You know, I know the tribes out of Arrowhead. You see their trucks on the road, you see Burns Oil. I mean, you see a lot of tankers going down the freeway. You're going to the tank farm to distribute fuel across the
Okay.
state.
I guess my question to you guys is, am I overreacting? Do you think,
I mean,
this- yeah, go
I
ahead.
think
You use more diesel than all the rest of us. Well, except for the count.
I use more than anybody in that room probably. Yeah. I think it is, I mean, we should react as this is a concern. We want to make sure that, this is a decision that affects people far beyond Portland, and just to make sure that our voice is heard. And so, Dave, I think, I absolutely approve and support you making a comment to the city of Portland, and just to express that this is a decision that will have impacts far beyond Portland. And I know you guys don't normally think about us, but it'd be really great if you did.
Well, as an example of a lot of fuel that's used, the company that my wife works for does custom harvesting. They go through a tanker load of fuel every other day during peak harvest in the fall.
Well, I wrote up a statement because, like I said, there's a deadline 30th to the city, that kind of anticipating how you guys would feel. And do you want to? It's about a page and 3/4. Do you want to read this, or do you want me to read it, or do you want to? I don't know.
Well, I think I probably trust you, but quick summary, Dave.
Okay, it's basically
Agreed.
Yeah, it's basically, this is not a good idea, and it affects Eastern Oregon and agriculture and business, exponentially more than other places, I think. And we think it's overreach. What else do I throw in there? And then there might be alternatives to doing this. Don't cut it off until maybe you do a regional distribution set up outside your lovely city limits of Portland. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that basic summary. I would add or further emphasize, if they want to move it outside of Portland, that we are supportive of that, but we want to make sure that we do have regional storage capacity before we lose storage capacity. Build it before you start closing it down so that we don't lose that storage capacity. I think that would be a great thing to emphasize.
Yeah, it's in here because that's exactly right. You don't want a gap, and so I got this written up. It's not too, anyway, it lays out what I thought you guys would think about it. Anyway, I'd like to submit that before the 30th. And then also the people who sent us that email, I can't remember their name. This is the first time I've run into them. Recommended that we send it to our elected officials, including Tina Kotek. So I'd like to be able to do that too.
All right. Well, I move to have the board chair to comment on the proposal regarding the critical energy infrastructure hub to the city of Portland and to any other elected officials he feels need the message.
And authorize me to sign on the part of the board, or do you want to e-sign it?
Sign on behalf of the board.
Sign on behalf of the board.
Okay. All right, you heard the motion. Here a second?
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, thank you. I'll get that off.
Thanks for doing that, Dave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow, my eyes about popped out of my head when I heard that. But then what do you expect from Portland,
Well, they've been talking about curtailing and not allowing things to happen down there for the last couple of years. I've been seeing articles in Irrigon, even like an ethanol storage place and different things that they've talked about
Yeah.
curtailment down there.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they all want to ride bicycles and and get on Trimax. And so let's take away everybody's fossil fuel because we hate fossil fuel.
Well, the truck has to get the bicycle to the city of Portland, so.
Okay. Next up would be correspondence. Do you have any correspondence, Valerie?
No.
Okay.
We just had one come in this morning. Steve Vreeland just shot you an email, but just putting it on there. It included Governor Kotek just issued an executive order number 26-10 proclaiming a state of emergency due to imminent threat of wildfire, just with how things are today.
A state of emergency for what?
For to the imminent threat of wildfire.
Oh.
So she's activating National Guard and those others to be able to respond if necessary. So keep on praying that we don't have it in Morrow County, but Tri-City sure is getting it right now. So.
Okay. Any other correspondence? Okay, next up would be our commissioner reports. Jeff, you want to start it off there?
So last week I met with Lisa to discuss what we talked about last time in executive session, and she seems agreeable to what we talked about. And she said get some numbers together for her, and she'll take it to her board, and she's had some prior discussions around that with her board, so she thinks that's doable. And then last Friday I did attend the CREA meeting down in Dan. They meet every month, but once a quarter they do meet in person. Most of the time it's virtual, and this time it was in Dan. And I think that's it.
You CDA update for us, or you want to just forget that?
Well, the CDA meeting's next week, I believe.
Nothing. Okay.
No. Just, we keep hoping that they move closer and closer to getting property transferred. That's what we all want, is property be transferred. CDA not have any property, and the other respective parties own their property.
I don't think I have anything to report. Gus, you got anything to report?
Just a little bit. I want to add to, Tamara has said that I've talked about corridors, and I don't have anything specific yet, but I have had quite a few conversations with the governor's office, and because of their very large desire for renewable energy, and Morrow County is a unicorn, was one description that I got. There is a lot of support for helping us potentially be able to navigate through areas that up until now were no-goes. Again, we're in public meeting. I do want the board to know that there is a possibility that we can get an energy corridor that would make things just a lot simpler for Morrow County. So hopefully by next month, I'll be able to share a whole lot more than that.
Okay.
Also, Dave, going back to, when you're asking Tamara, Morrow County is in the top 3 in terms of renewable energy production. Judge Joe Dabalskas from Sherman County likes to say that Sherman County is the largest, but I'm not sure that we aren't maybe a little bit bigger than him, especially once the Sunstone is operational. I know that we will be, because he often makes that comment, especially at CREA. So last week when I was down at CREA, I looked at the county's website and I started adding up what is operational. And I do think, though, that I included the Sunstone 1,250 megawatt solar project in there, which it's not operational yet. But, it's going to go. And I think that I was including that, and we were like at 3,500 megawatts worth of renewable energy, namely capacity in Morrow County.
Yeah. So it's a great opportunity that comes with some problems, but hopefully we can get some of those mitigated somewhat.
Okay. No more reports, and we'll call a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back into open session, and we will be going into executive session. So right now, we're in a 5-minute recess.
Thank you, Chair.
She just raised it. So Bobby, is this something you want on the record or just
I
comment?
just wanted to let you know that I have a automatic hand recount hit me on Monday, FYI.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
yeah, countywide, yay. All right, bye.
Bye.
I hear the magic. Okay, I call the meeting back to order and we are going to go into executive session. The Morrow County Board of Commissioners will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192-6602F, which allows the commission to meet in executive session to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. And the Morrow County Board of Commissioners will now meet, under ORS 192-6602B, which allows the commission to meet in executive session to consider the dismissal or discipline of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent who does not request an open meeting. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. And there is, I'm going to read it, the possibility of, as there will be potential, and there will be potential decision or action items as a result of the executive session when we come back. So with that, I'll call the executive session. Call the meeting back to open session. And there will be no action, so any further business to come before the EOC? No. Nope. Okay, we'll call the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gus.